Hi, this is Don Mays, and this is another in our series of uses for the Boyum product. This one here is going to illustrate how to use repair production orders using Boyum. I've got some line loops in here and some other functions that will be very interesting for people that are looking to utilize Boyum in a very serious function. Here's the business scenario. The company that you are does repair of products like big pumps, transmissions, things that need repair from time to time, and we need to go and enter in production orders to track the repairs. One of the scenarios here, though, is that you receive let's say a large pump in from a customer, and the production order has as its first component is the pump. So you need to use a special production order and process it in a rework fashion. And so the steps that I'm following here is I'm going to have a return request for the part to be repaired. That's the RMA that you're going to give to the customer so that he's going to send you the pump in this instance. Then when we actually get the product into our plant, we're going to go in and do a copy return request to the return, and then the return itself is going to put the item into inventory. We're going to put it into a rework inventory warehouse, and then we're going to examine the pump, determine what needs to be repaired. We're going to quote the cost of the repair. Then we're going to create a production order from the quote, and then we're going to create a sales order from the quote. And then we're going to link the production order to the sales order. And then we're going to repair the pump and ship an invoice. So that's the scenario. Okay, so here we are in SAP. We're going to do a return request. And I'll pick a customer. And we'll put in the date from a few days ago so that we can see some progression in dates. And I've got just a generic pump that I put into the system. And I've defaulted, using Boyum, I've defaulted the warehouse to a rework warehouse. And then I could put some text in here. I could do a lot of different things in here. But essentially what this is right now, I'm going to use, this is my return request. I'm going to tell my customer that this is the RMA number. And then I'm going to now I did say that the sum total is 0, which is probably true because it's not your pump. It's the customer's pump. Okay, so at some point in time, and let's just say 5 days later, we're going to receive the pump. So you'll come back to the same document, return request. We'll copy that to a return. And I'll just put down this is 7/15. Okay, and if we take a look at the on hand of the pump, just so that we can see what's going on before we actually do this return, is I can see that I've got 212 pumps in stock. 97 are in the general warehouse, 9 are in a consignment warehouse, and 106 are in a rework warehouse. So now we can go ahead and add and view the return. And now we've got a return on here. We still have a 0 price in here because we still haven't, all we've got is the pump in stock, and now we don't know what's going on with it yet. So the next thing we want to do is we want to go and figure out a quote to go in and say, what's wrong with this pump? And in here, what I've done is I've automatically added the quote from the return. And you can see that the quote is going to go to a warehouse 1, which is not the rework, because when we get finished with the pump, we want to put it into a fully repaired warehouse location. So now what we want to do is we want to go in and say, well, what does it take to go in and correct this pump, fix it up? So we're going to create a production order. And now I've got a production order for the pump. It's a special production order. And the first item, the component on it, is a pump. And then we've got a technician, and I've just arbitrarily put down 1 hour of rework. So now I've got a technician that's going to go in and take a look at this pump and see what is incorrect and what's wrong. One of the things they could do is on this pump, they could double click. If I have a bill of materials, it'll bring it up. I'll look at this and I'll say, I've got to replace the bolts, the nuts, the lock washers, the gasket, and the hose. The other parts I may or may not have to, but I've got to at least do those. So I select those, it brings those in. I'm going to go and estimate that this is going to take 11 hours of work. And I will update the production order. So right now we've got a planned production order. I've got a cost estimate. And this is made up of the technical labor, 11 hours, plus all of the different parts. Okay, so we've got the parts, we've got what's in here. Now the next thing to do is to actually go in and go back to the quote. And in the quote, we can see the PDO costs. And we say, oh, it's $560. I'm going to put a price in here of $1,100. Okay, so that's what I'm going to charge them to go in and do. Now, you could, at this point in time, actually just go in and put a Boyum function in here to go and say, take the number that is in the planned costs and double it, or 1.5, or whatever the number happens to be that you're comfortable with. That's one technique of doing it. What I just did, though, is just to make up a number and somebody assigns it, and we then update. Okay, so at this point in time, we have not done the repair yet. We're going to copy this to a sales order. So now we've got it in the sales order. It's $1,100. Go ahead and view it. Whoop, need a delivery date. Okay, so at this point in time now we can go back to the production order. We're going to change this into a released production order. It went out and found that at this point, I used Boyum to go out and find that, hey, there is a sales order we can link this to, because the quote was linked to the production order and the quote is linked to the sales order, so we can figure out that this is the sales order that this production order is linked to. So now we can actually do the work, and we can do an issue of components, which the only component that really is manually, all the other ones are back flushed. I could have selected them as manual, and I'm going to go in and say that this actually took 9.7 hours. It didn't take the full 11 that I estimated, which means I'm going to make a little bit more money, which is good. And then I want to go in and do a report completion. Okay, so at this point in time, I've got the pump is complete, and I'll just click add, cancel. And now at this point in time, I want to close the production order because it's complete. And with this message right in here is saying that I only have issued 9.7 hours versus 11, which is still okay because I took less time than I anticipated. Okay, and then the last step is that I would go out and I would actually copy this to a delivery order or an invoice and ship it to the customer. And I can do that with a delivery. Okay, so basically now at this point in time, the pump has been shipped back to the customer. If I go into here and I do a relationship map, I can see, and I've checked this reference documents, I can see that the delivery is related to the sales order, related to the production order. The production order itself is related to the quote. If I went back to the quote and took a look at the relationship map there, I can go back to the production order, the sales order, delivery, and the return. So I go all the way back to the return, and if I double clicked on the return and I wanted to go relationship map back to it, I can go back to the return request. So I can go all the way back. Everything is linked together, and it's a very slick way of doing a repair where you can track down everything that you have done with the repair. All the functions that were in this document, there's a Word document explains everything about how I did the production order repair. All of the Boyum functions in there. As you can tell, there's some line loop information in there because we went and created a quote from a return, which could have multiple lines, and it could very easily have a line loop that's requiring a lot. I've imported bill of materials information directly into the production order. Done all of these things in Boyum functions, and the Word document explains everything. If you've got any questions, please give us a call at 248-568-0418, or you can email me at any time. Thank you for your attention.